TikTok has become the biggest scam if you're a content creator in the creator rewards program. Everyone, now it's global. Everyone is getting an RPM of pennies. You get a video with millions of views, you're lucky if you make $1 on it. But do you know why this is happening? Somebody's gonna like, TikTok. It's the Americans that bought TikTok. And basically these billionaires, instead of losing billions, well, not that they're losing any billions. They didn't understand how much TikTok made per year, and they were so disappointed that they couldn't get the billions they wanted that they decided, hey, you know what, we're gonna get it? We're gonna go in the content creators that built this app, that made this app what it is, and we're gonna get it out of their pockets. Fuck this. Why are we paying content creators? Yeah, no, we're not going to do that anymore. So we're going to give you the illusion that we're paying you, but it's going to be pennies. So at the end of the month, an account with 250,000 followers that I have, my main account, it made $6 last month. That was an account that used to make $5,000. On a bad month, I'd make $1,000. Like, it has been months since TikTok has sold to the United States. We ain't making shit anymore. Call it what it is. TikTok is a shopping app now. So if you want to be an affiliate, you want to shop, you want to do reviews, that's good. Content creating, yeah. TikTok's done. And I think that the best way we can send the message to the billionaire wannabe gods that purchased it is to not work on it. Like, get your content, bring it to YouTube, bring it to Instagram, bring it to Facebook, and fuck them. We don't need this crap. Learn that united, we are powerful. One by one, we're nothing, we're nobodies, okay? So let's unite and take a stand together. Let's go on strike. What if nobody posted for a week on TikTok? What would happen to them? Would that force them to pay you again? Okay, start talking about that. Start talking about a global mass content creators.
So guys, I don't know if you've seen this is all over the internet that now TikTok, since they were bought out by the Ellison family, those who own Paramount, I canceled my Paramount subscription, by the way, because the Ellisons, are backing the Republican regime, and they are funding Donald Trump's re-election, and they are trying to take control of all the media. Like right now, they're trying to do that big merger with Netflix, or the merger that Netflix already has done. Well, they already, signed the contract for some crazy $1 billion, but Ellisons are trying to do a hostile takeover of Warner Brothers, so then they'll have, besides CBS News, they'll have CNN and MSNBC, and they want to just have basically, government-sanctioned propaganda stations, and on TikTok now, nobody could say anything bad about the right wing or, right-wing politics, or they get
the reason you're not making any money on TikTok
canceled
anymore is because the creator rewards program.
So next up, I have
TikTok's
this video.
not paying
This
anymore,
guy,
guys. I don't know what to tell you.
He's a huge creator.
Less than a year ago, I was making about $1.29 per 1,000 views. Now I'm making anywhere from 28 cents to 40 cents per 1,000 views. And my content structure, rollout, none of it's really changed. There was a guy who just came out and said that he's making only 1 cent per 1,000 views. And he's got over 15 million followers, and he does millions of views per video. Just back in August, I made $5,000 in August just on TikTok. $5,000. Now I'm barely averaging anywhere from $300 to $400 a month. And I think I know what the problem is. I genuinely think that it's the AI content creators, the AI accounts on here that are clip farming and mining other creators' actual content and work and then repurposing it across dozens of channels, and they are mining money off of the RPM and rewards program from TikTok, and the algorithm's finally just gone, okay, well, then no one is going to get paid. I think that's what's happened, because I've seen the apparently Instagram stopped paying on a creator fund in like 2023, but they're not even inviting people into the pay program anymore, because they had a pay program they would at least invite you into. And Facebook just changed its whole structure on pay too. Now no one's making money on Facebook. YouTube, I never thought I'd say this in 2026, having to go to YouTube probably here just to actually start remonetizing, and even then, like, they're flagging people left and right on YouTube. It's a sinking ship, and I don't know if we should stay on it or just keep using TikTok at least to build our individual.
I'm really only on YouTube, so I don't know, and I don't really make any money on it either. But these guys, like this guy, had millions of followers, 5,000 a month on TikTok. You know how many millions of views you have to get 5,000 a month on TikTok? Which I'm envious. That's great money, but you cannot count on streaming or making content online as a form of income, not indefinitely. I know there's a lot of videos and articles out there about creators that did do this back in 2015, way before I was on YouTube or anything. Even 2010, when I first started watching YouTube videos, and I think YouTube started in 2006, it was easy then. Yeah, there was nobody on there, so it was easy to get eyes and easy to get followers, and YouTube even paid better then. But now, apparently, there's so many creators out there, and I think, yeah, it does have something to do with AI, like he's saying, but I think it also, like a lot of these other people in these videos are saying, is it has a lot to do with the Ellison family taking over TikTok. Basically the U.S. government forced ByteDance, I think it's ByteDance, the Chinese company, to sell TikTok to a U.S.-based company, and Trump's friends, the Ellisons, bought it, and now they're not paying creators anymore. Like he said, he used to get $1.29. Every 1,000 views, $1.29. That's a lot of money when you get millions of views. But now that it's pennies, it's a few $100s, and it's not really worth it for him to make videos, because he probably, I'm not familiar with this guy, but I'm sure he has lots of money to make his videos, or spends money. Like even me, I'm small scale. I do my own thing here. I don't have any collaborators. I don't have any editors or anything, but I still have to spend way more money on like internet and equipment and microphones and cameras than I've ever made on YouTube. I do this more as a passion project. Let's listen to what else he has to say.
Platform. I know I'm not the only one this is happening to. To go from, making $5,000 to barely scratching 400. Yeah, man, I think the app is on its last legs, taking a nosedive. TikTok's not.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that in the U.S. it does, lose its audience, TikTok, because I don't want the Ellisons. I think we should do away with billionaires. I don't think we need to be getting them any richer by, basically they paid like some insane low amount of money, like in the tens of billions for TikTok, but compared to the audience TikTok has, the U.S. government basically forced ByteDance or whatever, ByteDance, I think it is, to sell it. Here, let's listen to this guy. So TikTok's not playing that well.
I want to show you guys exactly how hard TikTok is screwing over creators right now. So this is the best month I've had on the Creator Rewards program back in
That's a pretty good month.
September. I was was like, oh shit, I can actually start living off TikTok. That's amazing. I've been posting like 4 or 5 times a day for over a year now.
I could definitely live
Awesome.
off that money.
But then here's this month.
Yeah, that's why
What
you
the
can't
fuck,
count
TikTok?
on
I've just put in thousands and thousands of
a
hours
creator
into making
income.
content for you guys. And this is my reward. If you're wondering why you're seeing so many ads on TikTok now, that's because that's the only content they push out. And the only way to get paid now. And one of my posts this month got 1 million views. That was on my other account. And even still, I only made $200 for the whole month over there. 1 million view video back in September would have made me like $1,000. This month, I got 70. Do you know how hard it is to get a post to get 1 million views? With my size following, that might happen once a month, every other month. And that one video will be the majority of my income. Not anymore. Is it time to unionize yet? I want to show you.
Huh. I don't know about creators unionizing. I don't think that is even possible. It's such a widespread, creators are all around the world. It's so hard to, I guess I don't call myself an influencer. This is just basically more of a information channel, but I guess, there's creators are all over the world. It would be impossible to unionize, like she's saying. I think. I mean, we barely have unions in the U.S. anymore, which is probably the only country. Well, I guess European countries have unions, but I belong to a union right now. It's a union in the federal government, but it is basically feckless because, if you're a federal worker, it's against the law to strike or anything like that. So if you don't have the power to strike in a union, you basically don't have any power. Like my union really couldn't keep Doge from firing employees last year or anything like that. So, I mean, and it's voluntary, the union. I think you have to sign up for it, like automatically. I remember when I was in high school, I had a job at a grocery store, and I think you automatically got put you had to opt out of the union. And I did, because I was young and I didn't, the pay was so low, I didn't want to pay the union fees, and I didn't understand unions back then. But if I had the opportunity to get into like in New York where I grew up, they have like the pipe fitters union, or like a friend of mine was in the construction union where he ran a jackhammer all the time, but he had great benefits, and he ended up destroying his body from running that jackhammer all the time. And because he was in the union, he got to, retire early, and, he got all the medical care and treatment. He ended up becoming, he was actually my older brother's friend, so it was years ago. He ended up actually becoming addicted to Oxycontin and died from taking too much of that because he got like unlimited amounts of it. So I guess, it's not all great, but, if you, a union is like, for instance, I know you guys probably read the story yesterday where Trump, a union worker at the Ford plant in Michigan or Wisconsin or something, yelled at Trump while Trump was visiting. Trump's doing the tour now, trying to win back over the working class since he screwed him over with the Epstein files and everything. But this guy yelled at him, pedophile protector, to Trump, which, I mean, he kind of is, right? He's protecting himself mostly, but I think he's also protecting his friends who are, huge pedophiles, because he doesn't, by keeping the Epstein files from coming out, and, having Pam Bondi, his, like, she's like his, I don't know, you remember that old movie, Young Frankenstein? She's like his Igor, or Igor. She just, like, does whatever he says. Basically, his command is, his wish is her command. But yeah, so, he's having her slow walk the Epstein files, and Todd Blanche too, his other pet, because he's all over the Epstein files. His good friends are all over the Epstein files. So anyway, this guy called him a pedophile protector, and this guy probably was he looked like a guy who probably voted for Trump, and Trump, gave him the finger and told him to fuck off or something like that. So the plant has put him on suspension because they can't fire him because he belongs to the union. And the car makers union, whatever union it is, I can't remember the name of it, is a powerful union, and they cannot just fire you. If he wasn't in that union, Ford could have just fired him and wiped their hands of him. But because he's in that union, he is protected. So unions are, a lot of people don't like unions because of dues and stuff, and then there's the Teamsters union, what was that guy? I can't remember the guy who was buried under Shea Stadium, who, the Teamsters were run by the mafia, and they, a lot of money was stolen out of the coffers back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. But now, unions, they still, the union heads are still suspect. They get giant salaries and stuff. They're not perfect, but they definitely, it's better to be in a union than not be in a union for job protection. Let's see if this one will play now.
I'm telling y'all, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm telling you, as soon as the U.S. took over this TikTok, man, TikTok don't pay you crap. I don't care if you get 1 million views. I don't care how many views you get. They're gonna pay you crap. It doesn't even pay to waste your time to try to earn money on TikTok because you're not getting anything. The way it was before the U.S. took over, or Oracle or whatever, man, you could get paid pretty decent, but now you're not getting crap. I don't care how many, if you post all month long or what you do, however the algorithm is going, it's not going to benefit you. It's best that I'm telling you.
Hey guys, go ahead and comment. I want to see if my comments actually, or chat with me if you're on now.
Social media apps, because this one is not cutting it, and it's probably not going to last too much longer because nobody's going to keep posting on this app. If they can't earn anything, they'll go to other apps and start posting there. I don't even understand, how they expect people to even want to keep posting on here to be creators if they just paying you pretty much peanuts. It's just ridiculous, and I know I'm not the only one because I've seen many videos of people complaining about, TikTok payment process now and how little people get money, if anything, off of their, people who had 1 million views and only get like $4 to $10, off of their views. This site is becoming a bunch of crap, and they're using people to make their money, but nobody else is making any money anymore on this app. This app is tired. I'm telling y'all, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm telling you, as soon as the U.S. took over this TikTok, man, TikTok don't pay you crap. I don't care if you get 1 million views. I don't care how many views you get. They're going to pay.
Yeah, so I never made much money. I only have a few videos on TikTok, and I know I saw creators in my space, basically the left news, I guess you'd call us, that were complaining last year about TikTok censoring them a lot because of, if they were talking about especially like Epstein or Israel. Israel was a big thing, TikTok was, demonetizing videos or even taking them off that spoke of Israel and the corruption with the U.S. government giving money to Israel, and how all our Congress people in the U.S. are basically beholden to Israel. Some Congress people even, they'll do stuff for Israel before they actually do stuff for the people of the U.S., which is a big issue, but we could talk about that another time, or you could comment about it now. So some of the comments on this guy's video, I don't think they care about who stays or leaves this app. They just don't want so many people flourishing financially. The U.S. wants to control how we make income. That's kind of a conspiracy, but I could definitely see that.
I want to show you guys exactly how hard.
Okay, I kind of switched off there by accident. All right, 3 viewers. Now we're cooking. So let's see. That's the point, to push you back to work a regular job, control. When they see black people coming up, then the rules change, just like they did IG, Instagram, I guess. They saw black businesses were flourishing, so they immediately messed up the algorithm. That's definitely a conspiracy theory, but I mean, I could see how black people feel like they've been abused for many, many years in the US. Y'all didn't learn from Uber. Y'all don't understand how these companies work. If you're not in early, you will always lose. All I do is scroll, and that's all. It's social media, not a full-time job, and let's be real, a lot of influencers don't have content worth paying for honestly. That's true. It should only be for marketing to drive people to your actual business. I would never consider any of these social platforms as a primary means of income. Let's be real. What did y'all expect? I left Creator Rewards. This man had 14 million views and 11 million were disqualified. They are hustling people. I am just here for fun. It's a waste of time and too draining. I post for fun. Trump stop that he got involved. Trump stop that he got involved because black creators were making money. Our government bought this app to monitor and control us. They didn't buy it for our safety. There is news they don't want us to know about it as well. They are suppressing the truth as much as possible. Yeah, that may be true. Interesting comments. Those a lot of those sound like conspiracy theories, but they could be true, and they definitely forced Binance or ByteDance, the Chinese company, to sell it to a company, the Ellisons, Paramount, that is friendly to the Trump administration. So I'm sure they're doing some, monitoring and flagging of videos that are anti-Trump, anti-Epstein, anti-Israel. But, maybe we need a new platform, a free platform, not controlled by corporations. But the problem is, once you get a platform and you start making money on it and you start getting big, the corporations are going to buy it and take control of it, because you, me, or any regular guy that would that could, I don't have the technical know-how to make a platform like this, but I'm sure there are people out there that do. But once you get big enough and some company like Paramount offers you billions of dollars, what are you going to do? Not take it? You're going to take it, right? Because you want to just take care of yourself and your family, and that's it. You're done. You never have to do anything again in your life. And I mean, Twitter's Twitter, but that did happen with Twitter actually. But now X. But TikTok, is different because it was started by a Chinese company, and Chinese companies get full backing, big ones, by the Chinese government, and lots of help from the Chinese government. So, I don't know how the politics went over there. Anyway, let's see what this guy has to say about it.
The reason you're not making any money on TikTok anymore is because the Creator Rewards program ran out of money. Yeah, that's the honest truth. The only money is going to large top-tier creators like an Alex Earl or Michaela, those who have millions of followers, like millions and millions and millions of followers.
And Alex
so
Earl?
Follow me here. Their RPMs are probably at about
enough.
$1.50 per 1,000 views. So if they have a 12, 20, 30 million viewed video, that's getting them paid around 15,000, 32,000, 25,000. So the money is all going to the top tier creators. It's not going to the little creators anymore. Unless you're brand new and you had a video go viral, TikTok will then show you how much money you could potentially make, but then they will completely cut that off because they're out of money. You have to remember, you used to be getting paid from China, the biggest, the hugest, the most money in the entire world. China was paying you a livable wage. Now, America is in charge of the algorithm and paying you. America doesn't want to pay people a livable wage, nor do they want you to become wealthy, because once you're wealthy, you can't be controlled. And America is all about control. Hope that helps. The reason you're not making...
Yeah, are we trading places with China? America is about control? I mean, that's what he's saying. I mean, I think it is to an extent, but China is definitely about control too, for sure. I mean, they're a communist dictatorship or a communist totalitarianism. I don't know what, how you describe. Yeah, I've heard it several ways, but they're basically a country controlled by one man. What Xi Jinping says is what's going to happen in the country. That's why Trump loves Xi Jinping, because he would love to be in that position to where whatever he says, everybody just bows down and does it. But unfortunately, he's in the U.S. of A. and we're not that subservient. A dude with 15 million followers gets 0.01 per thousand views. No, all the money is going to TikTok shop, whereas rewards has millions. I was wondering why TikTok was starting to suck. What? That sucks. Are you really telling the truths? We need to research this. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Sign up, subscribe. If you guys are new here, subscribe, follow, share. Okay, that's all I got to say for the TikTok. These are some funny ones about basically
How
this
can
guy
you
just talks about how
simultaneously at the same
stupid
time
Americans are,
be
which
so
amuses
pro
me.
education, teachers union, everything teachers, pretty much Democrats are teachers. But yet our nation just can't read and write, can't do math, can't do basic skills in school. We're more worried about teaching them histories that aren't real. Or
Why isn't that you don't know that, democratic states tend to perform right up there with the best countries in the world when it
Yeah,
comes to
why is
education?
that?
And the reason our national numbers are
Because
so low
you're
is
MAGA?
because of red states. Why don't you know that? Why don't you know that 8th grade math scores in Massachusetts are right there with Japan's? Why don't you know that students in Massachusetts, Vermont, New Jersey rank right up there with students from China, Japan, Singapore? Why don't you know that? So if you want to know why the United States performs so poorly, I suggest you ask people in the red states, because they are literally dragging down the rest of the country. Yeah, just like they do with welfare and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, so the past 30 or 40 years, the goal of Republicans, conservatives, has been to dumb down the electorate so they could get their agenda passed to prop up billionaires. So what states do conservatives control? Red states. So they've basically taken apart the education system in red states, and like West Virginia, Kentucky, Missouri, all those states, Mississippi. If you look at the ranks of, in fact, let's go look at it right now. So states ranked by education. It popped up. Look at that. So U.S. News, sure, they're credible, right? So if you look at the list, you see the bluest states are on top of the list. So Florida is second, which I find unusual, actually. Florida is second. That's pretty good. Colorado, my state, is third. Utah is fourth. Massachusetts fifth. Wyoming sixth. Wisconsin seventh. Eighth, South Dakota. Washington ninth. Connecticut 10th. I stand corrected. I had no idea. Jersey's number one, which I kind of could have guessed that. 36 in higher education. The quality of a community schools can be central to a family's aspirations, and though public education has largely been a local matter for school boards in states that allocate most of schools' funding, the federal government has played a large role for the past several decades. The No Child Left Behind, for example, put the annual testing requirements for states, while the Every Student Succeeds Act enshrined the annual testing requirements but rolled back the federal government's involvement in K through 12 education. Its role may be scaled back further in the near future. In evaluating the best states for education, one of 8 categories driving the overall best state rankings, U.S. News examined metrics tied to both higher education and the space from. Okay, so we're not talking about higher education. So, let's see. Let's find rankings just by public schools. Yeah, public school rankings. That's what we want. 2026. So now Florida's up there because, they have great colleges, but those are not really public because they're not free. Okay, so here's the real list. Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Washington, Pennsylvania, Vermont, Minnesota, Connecticut, Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming. So, Wyoming's pretty good. So you have to go to 11th on the list before you get to a red state. And then Maryland, Maine, a purple state, Nebraska, 14th. Okay, Nebraska's not bad. Rhode Island, 15th, blue state, New Hampshire, bluish state, Illinois, blue state. Then 18th, you have South Dakota, red state, North Dakota, 19th, which are higher than I thought. 20th, so 18, 19, and 20 are red states. District of Columbia, 21st, which is pretty bad. It's where the nation's capital is. You think they'd be better. Iowa, red state, 22nd. Michigan, 23rd. You think they would be higher. Then Missouri, 24th. Kentucky, 25th. Ohio, 26th. Alaska, 27th. Tennessee, Kansas, Georgia. Wow, there's so many more red states. Oregon, 31st, a blue state. California, 32nd, blue state. Hawaii, 33rd, blue state. North Carolina. Colorado, 35th. Huh. Yeah, I guess because Colorado is mostly rural and they don't have money for schools. So I know a lot of the counties in Colorado went to the 4-day school week so they could save money. So everybody's off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which is great for the teachers, but it has lowered the level of success for the students. Utah, South Carolina, Mississippi 39th, Texas 40th, Florida's 41st, so I don't know how they got second on that other ranking. Louisiana, Indiana, which is a purple state, 43rd, Nevada 44th, Arkansas, West Virginia 46th, one of my adopted states. Idaho 47th. If you're worse than West Virginia, that's pretty bad. New Mexico 49th, Alabama, and Arizona 51st. Wow, how's Arizona so bad? Overall performance, let's see. Academic performance, still the top 10, 6. Wyoming 6th, 7th. So the top 5 or 10, and all of them are blue, except for that one we looked at that included colleges. I don't think you could really include colleges. So that backs up this guy's argument that that was a good video too. They're having trouble playing it back. No
Hey there,
comment yet, guys?
dipshit. Whether or not
Make
you're
sure
a
you
MAGA bot or a
subscribe,
Trump
like.
supporter, I'm going to go ahead and set all of you MAGA chuds straight on this fucking bullshit right here, right now. Open up your eyes, close your fucking mouths.
Nicole Good hit ICE officer Jonathan Ross with her car. I wasn't planning on making a video about this, but I keep seeing people saying either that the footage proves he wasn't hit or that it shows he was hit, and both of those can't be true at the same time. And I'll be honest, when I saw this clip, I thought, that really does look like he was hit. Maybe I was wrong. So I gathered a bunch of angles, synchronized them up in an editing software to look frame by frame at what happened, and it turns out we can arrive at a definitive conclusion, so we'll do that together. Now, I'm not going to show blood or gore, but this is a sensitive incident, so viewer discretion is advised. We start with this angle shot by bystander Caitlin Collinson, which shows Renee Nicole Good waving the first ICE car to pass in front of her, which they do. Then she waits for the second car to pass, but they stop and 2 ICE officers exit the vehicle. At this point, you can hear her say, "I'm pulling out." They tell her to get out of the car. They start yanking on the door handle and reach inside her vehicle. This already disproves claims by DHS head Kristi Noem, who said that she was belligerent towards them and attacked them as they were pushing their cars out in the snow. Now we get to this angle shot by Jonathan Ross himself, who's the ICE officer who killed Renee Nicole Good. Importantly, this was shot on a handheld smartphone, not a body cam. And when he passes in front of her car window, she tells him,
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
which further shows that she was being calm and polite and trying to de-escalate the situation so she could leave. As far as I understand, this is her wife, which you could argue is being slightly more confrontational, but one, she has every right to be, and two, she's not behind the wheel, so her behavior is not at issue at all. Moments before the shooting, you can see on Ross's camera that she's turning the steering wheel right. You can also see the wheels of the car turning right from the other angle as Ross steps out of the path of the vehicle. Okay, third angle, this was posted by ABC5, and ICE defenders say this shows Ross being hit. This is what is professionally referred to as potato quality footage. It's a blob of pixels, so it's really hard to see what's happening. But there are 3 really important things we can get from this footage. 1, the moment before the car purportedly hits him, if you synchronize the footage with the other angle, you can see that he was already outside of the path of the car. It only looks like he was hit because this is from the same angle as a Hollywood film would shoot an action scene to make it look like a punch connects with an actor's face. 2, despite the potato quality, as far as I can tell, these are his legs. I'm gonna highlight them in white so you can see what they're doing. You can see him shifting sideways as the car starts to move forward. Importantly, he stays on both feet for the entire incident, which contradicts claims saying that the footage shows one of his legs being swept up by the hood of the car. There's a 3D recreation of the incident by an NGO called Index Investigation based on the angle from the back. And based on the footage, they depict him leaning on the side of the hood as he's shooting in the side window, which is exactly what we can see in the potato video. And 3, this is the most important one. The snippet that is used from the potato video that is circulating most widely online as a case closed he was hit was tampered with. It doesn't have original sound, it's a less than 1 second clip playing on a loop, and it's been sped up to make it look like the car is going faster than it was. This is part of a deliberate disinformation campaign to change the narrative, so it's not your fault if you were misled by a clip.
Actually, I have seen that video a bunch of times, and that is true. That clip is sped up because the car was definitely not going that fast. She was going like 5 miles an hour. And I know the latest now from, DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, is they're saying that the Ross, the cop who shot the woman, it has internal bleeding, which I don't see how you could have internal bleeding. I'm an EMT, and I've seen lots of accidents, and I have seen a guy run himself over with his own truck who was internally bleeding. He basically got out of his truck to do something, and he left it in drive, and he walked in front of the truck, and it ran him over. And it was a big truck, bigger than that one. It was like a full-size Blazer or something like that, or Yukon. It was like a Yukon. And he did have internal bleeding and a busted spleen. We had to call a helicopter to get him out there. We were in the in the backcountry in Colorado. I mean, there was roads, but they were dirt roads and stuff, and basically on public lands in the far, the Bureau of Land Management land. So he could have internal bleeding, I suppose, from that, but it was going so slow.
that was tampered with. Finally, back to the officer's perspective, they say you can see him and hear him being hit by the car and that his body cam is knocked off. But remember, this isn't a body cam, it's a smartphone in his left hand. All you can see and hear is him pulling his gun out, using his left hand with his phone in it to lean on the hood of the car, and firing 3 times. And cherry on top, the last thing she said to him was, "That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you." And this is the first thing he said after killing her.
Good.
And it only got worse from there, where they didn't even try to give her first aid, and they prevented bystanders from helping her, including one who identified himself as a medical professional. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if I changed your mind.
So let's wrap.
I mean, there's so many issues with this shooting. First of all, you know, these ICE guys, they shouldn't be there, you know. They shouldn't be stopping people in the road, you know, just to see if they're legal immigrants. They shouldn't be checking people's papers, you know. So if they weren't there, this never would have happened. Another thing is, you know, cops in general are, you know, way too quick to pull out their weapons. And apparently these ICE agents are way undertrained. You know, they don't get a lot of training because they're trying to, you know, they just like doubled or tripled the size of the force in the past year. So they're trying to pump people out as quick as they can. And another thing is they're not doing good. They're not doing, you know, everything I've read is they're not really doing background checks on these guys, or they're not vetting them enough. So you're getting these guys like, you know, with anger issues, you know, racists, you know, people who have a beef with the people that they're policing. So it's a big problem. There's so many angles to this, and, you know, I'm trying to give it some nuance, you know, like maybe the guy did feel threatened 6 months ago. He was dragged by a car for, you know, in the same situation. But at the same time, cops are trained not to escalate, and they're also trained never to stand in front of a car, especially when it's moving. And they're also trained that if somebody's trying to escape, you don't shoot them in the face. You let them get away and go pick them up at another time. That was a big thing I remember years ago with chases, with, you know, cops, you know, having car chases. You know, now these days they're taught to not chase the people where, you know, like you see in the movies, like, you know, Beverly Hills Cop, where they crash 1 million cars and, you know, there's a bunch of other cars crashing, you know. So basically they don't want to do chases so innocent people don't get caught up and killed in the chase, you know. So it's easier, especially with the technology today, to just take a snapshot or a photo. They have their body cams or their car cams of the other car and go pick them up later at home when they're sitting there watching TV. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? There's another video I found pretty hilarious.
Left tells you to follow the science. Okay. Well, did you know you can scientifically prove this statement, liberalism is a mental disorder?
Can you scientifically prove that?
This guy, obviously you don't know what science is if you say something like that.
Brain mass is made up of a substance called myelin. Myelin is 100% made up of cholesterol.
So it's actually pronounced myelin with an N at the end, not myelin. And myelin is composed of 80% lipids or fats and
Which is
20%
fats.
protein. And cholesterol makes up 40% of the lipids in myelin. So not 100%. Not sure where you got that number, but continue.
Now, it's funny because Alzheimer's didn't exist before 1979.
Stop you there again. That's not.
Oh my God.
So the
People are
first
so
ever reported
stupid,
case of Alzheimer's
especially MAGA.
was in 1906 when Dr. Alzheimer discovered it. So not 1979. So a couple of decades off there, Chief. But keep going.
It's weird too because that's when we started to see products like margarine.
I mean, a lot of people probably weren't diagnosed with Alzheimer's before 1979, but yeah, Alzheimer's has been around much longer than that.
And other things come onto the market to replace butter because they were low cholesterol or no cholesterol alternatives, and they're literally one molecule away from being plastic.
So sorry to interrupt again.
So the liberal left tells you to follow the science. Okay. Well, did you know you can...
So margarine, I'm a big proponent of real butter, and I see where he's getting at with this, but I remember organic chemistry pretty well, and I don't think they're one molecule away from being plastic. But margarine is basically made up of vegetable oils, which is, a long chain fatty acid is the chemical makeup of it, which is, really, it's harder for your body to break that down than like a real butter. So not to get too much into the chemical compounds, but margarine is definitely worse for you but I don't know you could kind of, relate it to Alzheimer's, I guess, but he's really reaching, and, like these guys come on TikTok or whatever he's on here, so sure of himself, and myelum, he doesn't even know what the right word is, made up 100% of cholesterol.